Good morning, everybody. Let's see here. Okay. All right. Ask me anything. Good to go for November 17th, 2022. Not for long. It's going to be the new year before we realize it. Okay. I got my coffee. Audio, video seems to be working. Whole family's still asleep, and so we're good to go. Let me scroll up to the first question here. Got some good ones today. Not only from the private Facebook group, but also from the BTWB Squads feature. Came in big time, so we won't delay. Let's hear what is on everybody's mind. First one, from Patrick S. And as I say every time that Patrick gets a question, not me, a different Patrick S. So let's see. More times than not, when you're sick, it's because of your kids, which makes sense because they bring it home, and I get it. We also know that you rarely, if ever, skip a workout. So my question is this: how is modulating your intensity different when you're ill, congested, etc., in contrast to having just a bad night's sleep? Do you find that it actually helps you recover from your illness when you still do something to make your body move? Okay, top most upvoted question. So here's the thing, right? I mean, we've done a lot of these Linchpin conversations. We're over 300 right now. We've been chatting for many years at this point. My goal is never to lie to you, even if it's unpopular. So I'm not telling you that I do the right thing all the time. I'm just going to be honest with you. This isn't advice. Yeah, I work out when I'm sick, the overwhelming majority of the time. Probably stupid. Could be. As a matter of fact, Adrian Bosman and I are doing a podcast later on with a physician. I'll run it by her. I'm sure she'll say that it's stupid. And the next time I'm sick, I'll work out again. But it is a little bit different, getting back to your question, the intensity, and then depending upon what the illness is that I have. So yes, I've got 3 kids that are running around the earth doing all kinds of things, interacting with other kids at school, basketball games, etc. So there's always something coming into the house. It is what it is. In an odd way, I need to do it. I know that's stupid, but I need to do it for my mental sanity. Even though my body is in pain, if I don't do something, I feel like I spiral down into just a miserable, negative energy hole in my life. And so I make some sort of a compromise, if you will, as to what does my body need to do, because I don't want to be sick longer than I have to, but yet at the same time, I don't want to have my mind and emotions and overall just attitude to everyone around me suffer as well. So there's a fine line for me personally when it comes to being sick and working out and all that kind of stuff. So let's see. So I've got it written down here. So I'm sick right now. I'm getting over it. I've been sick for probably about a week or so, and I'm on the tail end, thank goodness. And now my wife is just getting it. Isn't that great? Isn't that great when you've got like 5 members of your family, one gets it, and just as they're getting over it, the next person picks it up, the next person picks it up. So I've done my time passing the baton to her. I've got head congestion, nose is stuffed up, had a cough for a while, never had a sore throat, never had any upset stomach, never had any nausea, never had any vomiting, never had any sprinting to the bathroom or anything like that. If I'd had vomiting or nausea or sprinting to the bathroom, that would be a different story. But I've just got a head cold. And so when I've just got a head cold, me personally, I don't mind going into the gym and doing something at a lower intensity for me personally. And I'm sure, I would have to guess, beats me, I don't know if any meaningful study has been done on it. I would tend to think I'm not doing myself any favors. I would tend to think that I'm delaying whatever I have by a few days, probably. But for what I need to happen between my ears, I'm okay with that compromise for me personally. So for example, I haven't missed a workout, as stupid as that might be. That miserable long 2-rounder that we did, there was like 2 rounds of 120 double unders, 1,000 meters in the rower, 800-meter run, and there was like, I don't know, sit-ups, handstand walking, something else. Yep, knocked that one out. Just you know, did it a little more casual, just moved easy. 1 second here. Okay. And then I mean, that miserable workout the other day, the 21:59, it was supposed to be overhead squat, bar facing burpees, and pull-ups. I did that one with dumbbell thrusters, even though I was ill. I mean, that would have been a miserable one healthy. And, a pair of 50-pound dumbbells. And I'm here to tell you, I warmed up. And then my first set of 21 dumbbell thrusters, even though I'm somebody typically that actually, quote unquote, likes dumbbell thrusters, if anybody can like dumbbell thrusters, I do. I just did 3 sets of 7 to get to 21. Didn't even attempt to do anything more than that. Again, because I know I'm not feeling that great. And those 3 sets of 7, they weren't quick 3 sets of 7. I did a set of 7, set the dumbbells down, walked around the gym, fiddled with my phone for a second, blah, blah, blah. And then, went back, did another one, etc., and finally got through the 7. Did the set of 21 burpees, potentially slower than any human being has ever done a set of 21 burpees in their life. It was very casual. And then on the pull-ups, I definitely didn't do more than 3 sets of 7 on the pull-up bar with big breaks. And I played that same game when I got to the 15. 3 really slow sets of 5 for the dumbbell thrusters, etc. So I just moved. My body. I moved a little loading. I broke a little bit of a sweat. That was it. And so when I'm sick, those are my workouts. And I even did the bike sprints 2 days ago, whenever it was, which you wouldn't think that's like a high intensity, short time domain bike sprint would be ideal because, again, I'm trying to move without intensity. And I moved without intensity. I did those bike sprints moderately. I shouldn't even say the word sprint. It was just gently uncomfortable is what I kept myself. That's all. And so I make those sort of decisions. I'm not saying they're right decisions, but I'm saying I've been doing this for a long time for me personally, and it's better for me between the ears. So that's that. Okay, let's see. Steve M., the next most upvoted question. Winter is coming. So Steve M., winter is coming. Any tips for working out in a cold garage with no heater? My heart goes out to you, Steve. Yes, for sure. So I did this for many years in Denver, Colorado when I lived there, and it gets, plenty cold. Did not have a garage heater. It was an uninsulated, freezing garage, no stall mats, just a concrete floor. What I would do every night, I would bring my barbell inside the house. If I was going to use a kettlebell or dumbbells for the next day's workout, I would bring that inside the house. And so they would overnight warm up to whatever the temperature of the house was. Then I would bring them back out into the garage when it was time to work out the next day. There's just something about grabbing an ice cold barbell, depending upon where you live. If you grab a barbell and it's 15 degrees, that just not only sucks the grip strength out of you immediately, it makes everything feel heavier than it should be, just sucked my motivation right out of my body as well. So I'd bring those things into the house, let them warm up the night before, and if it made sense, I would even do some of my warm-up in the house, get as warm as I could, below parallel, whatever it happened to be, move my body, then get my butt out into the garage with the barbell and get moving towards the workout as quick as I could because I just didn't want to be in that cold garage. Now, as anyone who's worked out in that environment knows, it is funny, even when it's pretty darn cold out, once you get moving, how quickly you can get warm. I mean, I'd go out there with a thin set of gloves, a hat, a thick hoodie, whatever it happens to be, and as either the workout's going on or the warm-up's going on, layers are starting to get peeled off. And even in that miserably cold environment, it wasn't uncommon if by the end of the workout, I just had on, a set of pants or shorts, but just a t-shirt as well. Everything else had come off. But it's just getting there was the miserable part. So I liked bringing stuff into my house for sure. I was working out with a buddy down the street at that time, and we both hated the cold garage. And so one weekend we just decided we're going to buy some insulation. We're going to insulate the garage. So we spent a weekend, we insulated the garage, and then didn't have really a lot of dough, a lot of money, which is why we did that ourselves, and didn't have a lot of money for a really nice heater. So we went out and just got a couple cheap electric heaters from Home Depot that were approved for indoor use. And they weren't probably rated for whatever the size square footage of the garage was. They were small, they were whatever we could afford. But we bought a couple of them, plugged them in, and then that with the garage now having been insulated, I'd click on those heaters about an hour before I'd head out in the garage. And don't get me wrong, it was not toasty warm, but it was noticeably better than it was before. And so that was even just a little bit of a ray of sunshine in our life. And then actually, eventually, I did save up and get a true heater installed in the garage by an electrician. And that was just glorious, absolutely glorious. So, and now living in Washington State, it gets colder than I want it to be in the garage, and we've got a heater. It was one of the things that we first did when we moved here because I remembered what happened in Denver, and so we got a heater installed in the garage here, and it's nice. And it's the same deal. I'll click it on, and then the overwhelming majority of the time, even by the time I finish my warm-up, if the heater's on, I'm clicking the heater off because I don't even want it on for the workout. So, but it is nice just to take that bitterly cold edge off. I hate the cold. Can't stand the cold, so I'm right there with you, Steve. Okay, this next one is a good one that came from the BTWB Squads feature. This is from Jake D. Jake, where are you? Sorry, I've got it. Okay, here we go. Let me get this where I need it to be. Jake D. This starts, I'm going to date myself right here. I don't know why this doesn't stay in my head. He starts the question with TLDR. I know that's shorthand for something. If my family was being held hostage right now, I could not tell you what TLDR stands for. Anyway, TLDR. I know the answer is just eat more, but any tips with the mental aspect of gaining weight while trying to be mindful of aesthetics? A little background. I'm currently 24 years old, 6'1", 158 pounds. So, I would say that's thin for 6 feet. Linchpin 3 times a week, and then I'll just go for a walk the other 4 days. I played sports all through high school and college and fluctuated with my weight up to about 185 pounds. I've found that with my current weight, I'm not performing in the gym as I would like to, and regarding just general energy levels. But mentally and physically, I'm having trouble putting the weight back on. Aesthetically, I'm low enough in body fat to show a six-pack, and let's be real, that's tough to give up. Physically, whenever I do try to eat more, I never know what to turn to. Being allergic to peanuts, tree nuts, lactose intolerant, my food availability is lower compared to others. I just want to get everyone's thoughts if they've ever found themselves in a similar situation. So I'll tell you what, well, I have a couple ideas for you, Jake, but you and I are the polar opposite, my friend. Putting on weight, and I'm not saying good weight, I can look at food and put on weight. That is not my issue. My issue is making sure that I don't put on weight. Okay, let's see. So the simple short answer, well, there's a couple things there. You've got a six-pack right now. You're concerned that if you start to gain a little bit of weight, it might go away. Maybe, but not necessarily. And if it does, maybe just for the short term, but I think it will come back. It sounds like it's, almost in your nature to be a little bit on the lean side, quite frankly, and you'll have to claw and fight not to be. So I wouldn't so much worry about that, but I obviously understand that, people like to look good, that, let's be real, we're human beings. Aesthetics do make people smile. So I get that. That's perfectly realistic, or understandable, I should say. But I don't think you're going to lose that. The short answer is, and especially, I would recommend go seek out somebody smarter than me. So I say this all the time. E.C. Sinkowski from Optimize Me Nutrition. When nutrition topics come up, I always tell people to go check out her website. And I always let people know I don't get any kickback for saying that. There's no financial incentive, there's no nothing. As everything else about Linchpin Conversations and what I've tried to just present to people, I'm just going to let you know what I have found out to be true, factual, and useful, and actually drives the needle forward. And in the nutrition realm, it's EC. It's, Optimize Me Nutrition, so check that out. I have a feeling she's going to tell you just, that it's a calories in, calories out sort of a deal, so you're going to have to get more calories. Ideally in a way that doesn't make you ill, nauseous, or hate food. So there's probably going to be more densely packed foods or shakes or things of that nature. From an inside the gym perspective, if you're doing Linchpin a few times a week, then you may want to pay attention to what you're doing on accessory work those days, and maybe add in a couple other days to get you up to 5 days a week. Again, whatever are the things I have to say on the internet that I'm not giving advice, we're just having a conversation, make your own choices. But those other 2 days you could put in on just pure like hypertrophy days with some lifting or some barbell to try to gain a little bit of size, if you will, in addition to the calories that you're eating. You could also do that with the accessory work, which is optional, of course, if you chose to do it after those 3 days of doing some Linchpin workouts, more hypertrophy style things, which, again, with some additional calories, could help you achieve those goals. Think some classic lifts, 4 sets of 8 to 12 reps, things of that nature, resting a minute between each of those. Squat, deadlift, press, bent over rows, just a lot of good things to try to actually just put some mass on in addition to what you'll be doing nutritionally might serve you very well. And then if you're still ensuring that you're doing those 3 days of classic training, Linchpin workouts, I don't think you would lose your fitness. I think you would be okay. And the 2 days that I mentioned adding to that, again specific for your goals of trying to put weight on your frame, would be lifting in nature, then you could just make sure, one of those 3 Linchpin days might be a heavy day as well. And you could potentially still do that. Then you get in 3 heavy days that week and 2 non-heavy days. But if you're lifting twice a week, let's say, for your goals of putting on size, then I would maybe make sure those other 3 days aren't lifting days. And I think you'd be just fine with that. And again, you could also, if you so choose, guide the accessory work that day towards some hypertrophy stuff that helps you achieve those goals. I think that would be a good way to do it. But seek out Optimize Me Nutrition, and I think they could give you some great guidance on specifically how to gain some size and some weight. Good luck to you, sir. Not a problem that I had. I almost wish that I did. It's not my issue. Okay, let's see. Joseph M. Okay, here we go. This is also from the squads feature. Checking the baby monitor to make sure she's okay. I think she's starting to get sick. That's not good. That's going to change the course of my life and my quality of life. When the baby gets sick, eesh. Anyway, here we go. This is from Joseph M. regarding accessory work. I was just curious about the accessory work and how that's programmed. I'm guessing you follow a similar routine to how you discussed on the Varied Not Random podcast, but in terms of selection, variance, intent, I'm fascinated to dig into it. I know prior episodes have discussed how you target similar movement patterns to the day. Quite true. Good on you for noticing that. And how you could use them for hypertrophy. Good point as well, and that relates wonderfully to the question we just answered previously. How you could use them for hypertrophy, but would just like the insight into the thought process, even if the answer is just yes, it's the same process as how I program the main efforts. So just so everyone knows what Joseph is, those Varied Not Random episodes that he's referring to, because they're probably some of they are the most useful 2 episodes on how to program workouts I've ever done. I'm going to find them real quick in case anybody wants to look at them. You can get them in an audio format, or you can get them on the BTWB YouTube channel, and they are under the podcast name Varied Not Random, and it's Varied Not Random episode 82 and 83. Varied Not Random 82 is how to program workouts part 1. Varied Not Random number 83 is how to program workouts part 2, and they've been very well received, which is cool. Okay. So with that background, so that's what Joseph is referring to, and he says, hey, is it the same process that you discussed in those 2 episodes about how you program workouts? To some degree, it's a bit of a yes there. Let's see. I've got multiple screens happening here. Now, what is similar to that other process that I described for the main workout of the day and the accessory work is, or just programming in general, this is just what you should do. You look backwards. You look backwards to where you have been and what you have done. And I have my methods for noting that down, keeping it clear. And what some people I think missed in maybe that Varied Not Random episode, or maybe I just didn't articulate it clear enough, is when you do look back and you do see where you've been and you do make these lists to note what's happened previously, that simply helps illuminate the path forward. That does not define the path forward. So all that looking backwards in that list it just serves as a useful reference, because you don't want to just trust what you think or feel like you've done recently. You want to have it written down in factual data. This is where we have been. And that, again, just helps illuminate where you should go forward. Doesn't define it. It just gives you some clues. That's all. And that's also why programming is part art and part science. The science might be where you've just been, could factually lead you to somewhere, but not necessarily. Then the art piece has to come in, where you as the programmer look at not only those pieces that you wrote down, but all the other workouts that maybe didn't make the list, because maybe you're just writing down heavy days, you're just writing down below parallel, you're just writing down overhead, you're just writing down accessory, whatever it happens to be. But every other workout is still using the body as one piece and is going to affect your ability to do those other things. And so that's why you have to get a sense of not only where you've been, but how is the athlete feeling, and then make some decisions based upon not only just that list, but your experience as a programmer, and then where you need to go. And so that's why it helps illuminate the path, but does not define it. So for example, let's say with regards to accessory work, that we look back at that list of where we've been, what we have done and what we haven't done, and maybe it's been a while let me stick to my notes before I go off script here. Like, let's say, for example, strict pull-ups. They might have come up recently in accessory work, but based upon the recent workouts, it might make sense to program them again instead of moving to something more closer to the bottom. Okay, so in that point, what I'm saying is I might deviate from the list. Maybe I look backwards at where we've been for accessory work, and one of the most recent pieces of accessory work that we have done was strict pull-ups. And so it might make sense of like, okay, that was something we've done quite recently. Let's do a different style of upper body pulling to get a little bit of variance in there. That would initially make sense. That would be a logical conclusion. But then you look at the workouts that we've done recently, and for whatever reason, it actually might make sense for the strict pull-ups to come up again, to get bumped up in the rotation and kind of violate that chronological order. That's where the art versus the science versus just checking out the program from a 30,000 foot view and seeing what you've done recently, all of that, kind of comes into play. I'm sorry if that's not as clean of an answer as some people might want to hear. Everything does work together, and some things do work better in accessory work. So for example, Turkish get-ups tend to work better in the accessory work than in the main workout of the day. You'll see something like 4 sets of strict handstand push-ups. So some accessory work might be some overhead stuff that we want to knock out, and I'd give the option for strict shoulder press or 4 sets of strict handstand push-ups. Those work really well in accessory work compared to the workout of the day. Strict shoulder press is phenomenal, a phenomenal movement. Everybody would probably benefit from increasing their strict shoulder press or their 4 sets of strict handstand push-ups. Now, if I put those into the workout of the day on a regular basis, as wonderful as they are, they're going to slow a lot of people down, and it's maybe not the best place to do that. Again, something like a Turkish get-up as well, which is going to build some great overhead strength, shoulder stability, the whole 9 yards. So those make their way more regularly into something like lost power. This is like Halloween. I don't think I lost power on my phone. I think we're good. Okay, back. Are we back? Do I have everybody? That was interesting. Just lost power here at 6:10 in the morning. If somebody in the comments can give me a thumbs up, let me know if we are still live and good to go. I will continue on here. That was unusual. I think we are live. Good to go? Everybody still there? Let's see here. Scroll through. Okay. All right. Made it. Okay. Wow. That was interesting. Okay, here we go. So, for the accessory work, yes, some things like the Turkish get-ups, strict handstand push-ups, strict press, they work better there. A static hold with your chin over the bar, yeah, that works a lot better in accessory work than in the workout of the day. And that's a wonderful piece of accessory work, by the way. Just accumulate 1 to 2 minutes, chin over the bar, static hold. Again, accumulate, like as many times you have to do. It's a rare person that would just be able to do that. Fantastic movement. Doesn't work well in a workout. Works great for accessory work. L-sits, overhead carries, sandbag holds for the midline, glute bridges, work better in accessory work than the workout of the day. Box jumps that are done not for time, like actually want you to take a lot of time between reps and just work on explosive power. Those work better in accessory work. So there's some movements that not only are complementary to whatever we have going on, but just tend to work a little bit better in accessory work pieces compared to the workout of the day. So all of that goes into it as well, in addition to some of the general concepts that I talked about in those 2 very not random episodes of how to actually program workouts, organize your thoughts, and all that good stuff. And there can also be like a wonderful interplay contrasting with the workout delivered, for example, from a below parallel overhead position, pulling perspective. So for example, if the workout was maybe a classic heavy day, 7x1 back squats, well, that's extremely heavy weight, very low repetition, right? 7x1. Well, maybe the optional accessory work that day is in stark contrast to that. It's no loading, high volume. It could be 5 sets of 50 air squats. It could be some pistols, some single leg squats, like the total opposite of loading. And while the 7x1 back squats are both legs being used with a heavy barbell, now we have the single leg squats, the pistols, no loading, just using one leg. And of course, single leg squats are fantastic, but they're very challenging. You can do them prescribed, or as you could imagine them being done. You could hold an upright, you could use a band, you could use a box to stand on and just do a one-legged squat, but you could do something which is a beautiful complement to the below parallel work that you did in the workout of the day, but also significantly different since the variance is such a wonderful thing. So all that same concept can be applied to pulling from the ground, going overhead, conditioning, whatever it happens to be. And just to drive this final point home, optional. I always like to say that the accessory work is truly optional. I mean that with all my heart. You never, ever, ever have to do a single piece of accessory work and you'll be just fine on planet Earth. So don't let that get into your head. Okay, next most upvoted one from Scott W. Let's see. Very strange, the losing of power. I think I said it's really windy at the moment. I think that must have been what caused that. All right, let's see. Scott W. I'm coming to the end of a 25-week targeted program done 2 to 3 times a week to increase my aerobic capacity. It's worked wonderfully, but I'm now ready to shift back to GPP, skill building and working on other limiters that I need to improve my capacity exposed. My question is, with the cold weather hitting my location, how do I shift back to GPP without losing the aerobic capacity that I've gained? A lot of cold weather questions today. So I'll give you my best advice, but some of it might just be, you're going to be cold. So you didn't mention it, but I don't know, can you still get out and run where you are? So for example, if you're in Alaska, you might have 3 feet of snow, but here in Washington State, our winters are really cold and miserable, but we don't generally get snow. It's just cold and miserable. And so with some appropriate rain gear or whatever, I can still get out there and run on a lot of days. I might not want to, but I can. Well, now if we're talking, there's ice on the ground, sleet, snow, that's a different story. For safety issues, you probably don't want to do that. Do you have access to a treadmill, be it a air runner or a classic, just old school electric treadmill or whatnot? That could be a great option for you. And if you don't have that, then ideally you're going to have access to a rower or an air bike. And those are going to be mission critical. If you don't have an ability to run in any way, shape, or form, you don't have a rower, you don't have an air bike, and you're just locked in a cold garage and you're not going to be able to get outside, you're going to be quite limited. Now don't get me wrong, and if Scott was here with me and we were having a face-to-face conversation, I could ping him with a couple more pertinent questions to really get some more details. But even if you couldn't do, so I hope you have access to one of those items or all of those items. If so, you're golden, you're great. But I'm guessing that you don't, which is why you asked the question. If you can get your hands on one, great. If you can make your way a couple times a week to some place that does have those things, great. But if not, and let's say you can't do any of that stuff, you can't run, bike, or row for the winter, and you're just trapped in your garage doing the regular workout of the day, you might lose some of that capacity. Let's just be honest, right? Because that's going to be a big hole that you're just getting zero exposure to. But you still, the regular workout of the day, I mean, that's what makes CrossFit so intriguing and amazing, does provide an astonishingly high level of conditioning and capacity that will translate to those other areas. Not to the same degree as if you were working them into the program regularly. If every time a row, a run, or a bike comes up in the workout, you just flat out period cannot do it, and you remove it, yeah, you're going to feel those detrimental effects when you do have access to those things again. But to the best of your ability, you'll be able to maintain the highest level of capacity in spite of that. And you can do some serious good conditioning with your friend of mine, the jump rope, just a regular workout of the day. There's plenty of conditioning in just couplets, triplets, chippers, the whole 9 yards. So I hope you can get yourself back to some of those things. All right, final question from Jeff R. Okay, here we go. Jeff, let me call up your question here. All right, Jeff's question is, sorry about sipping the coffee, but gotta get the day going here. Do you have any non-fitness, non-diet disciplines that you try to live out or feel they have helped you become more consistent, a more disciplined individual? Weekly family nights, reading goals, etc. like that. Prescribing to the quote, how you do anything is how you do everything. How do you carry your determination/intensity in the gym into your emotional, mental, and daily life? Interesting question. So the answer is yes. I've got a couple things that I just do. I don't know if it'll help anybody else. But I actually would reverse the final part that you said. For me personally, and I might be the oddball, because the final part of Jeff's question was, how do you carry your determination and intensity in the gym into your emotional, mental, and daily life? I actually find that it's the opposite. I find that I am able to get into the gym on a regular basis because of how I choose to live my life in general, my emotional, mental, and daily life. That gives me the determination and discipline to walk into the gym every day, not vice versa. I don't find that doing hard workouts makes me able to be a better person. I'm sure there's an interplay there. Okay, that's not a fair statement, because just doing hard things, it does all translate. It's interwoven. But my point is, I don't think the workout of the day makes me a better person as much as what I try to do in my non-workout time to be the person that I want to be helps me have the discipline and focus to walk into the gym every day. Maybe that's a better way. I don't feel like I'm articulating it perfectly, but hopefully everybody gets that. The two are certainly related, but I would tip the scales to, the 23 hours a day that I'm not in the gym, do more to get me into the gym for that 1 hour. So let's see. So some things that I came up with. Let's see here. Let me move this around. So for regards to just general habits, things like that, 10 pages a day of reading is what I try to hold myself to. Non-fiction reading generally, that's just me. And I try to make whatever that reading is I enjoy it. I don't want to say that I don't read for enjoyment. That's not the right way to phrase it. I enjoy it, but I enjoy reading things that ideally, when I finish that book, I'm somehow a better person. And that might be tough to define. What does better mean? But I want to hear about somebody who is extraordinarily innovative, extraordinarily intelligent, went through some difficult thing, was instrumental in the world, whatever it happened to be. And it could just be somebody that had a tough upbringing, and you read about them in their tough upbringing and how they got through that and what did they learn. But something I like to get through a book that at the end of it I've gleaned something from it that ideally helps make me a better, more resilient, more well-rounded, more intelligent person. That makes me happy. I enjoy that. Outside of that, just daily habits and things like that I think help. I don't watch a lot of TV or Netflix or stuff like that. I know I'm an oddball. I do try to consume a fair amount of media, podcasts, YouTube videos, etc., but I'm very intentional with what I consume. I try to make sure that what I consume is actually making me a better, more useful person. I enjoy doing all those things regarding finance, political topics, polarizing topics, important topics in our society, world, cultural issues, etc. And I like to consume most of the media in long form, podcasts and things like that. And generally, because if you're trying to figure out something on a important, sensitive, or potentially polarizing topic or controversial topic, I don't want to get on a soapbox about anything here, but the news isn't very useful. And again, because the news, they have a very limited amount of time that they have to work with, from sponsors to commercial breaks to all the other stories to they're going to cover the Kardashians for a while, some other nonsense. They don't have a lot of actual time to sit on one meaningful topic that's so profound that to really just flesh out all the necessary facts to even lay the groundwork as to how you can have a meaningful conversation and see a couple sides of any particular issue. If it's a really interesting topic and discussion, it might take 10, 15, 20 minutes to just even lay the groundwork to begin the conversation. No 30-minute news program has 20 minutes to just lay the groundwork for one conversation. So I don't feel like you get anything good there. You just get a sensationalized, clickbait, one-side bullet point that, I don't know, doesn't tell me anything about me making my own decisions for that topic. It's just somebody's point of view and the other side isn't permitted, and I don't like that. So I like to get more long form where I can hear, and again, not live in an echo chamber, right? So whatever media I try to consume, to the best of my ability, I want to have it present both sides, even if I don't like one of those sides, even if the other side is uncomfortable or makes me really question what I have going on. I want to hear both sides have their fair opportunity, uninterrupted, to discuss on any topic, from nutrition to world politics. I don't care what it is. And then at the end of that, I get to soak all that into my head and make my decision. I don't want somebody else to make that decision for me. I want to make my own decision. I'm trying so hard not to go down a rabbit hole right now. All right, I'll stay away from the rabbit hole. So with regards to mindset, the final part of this question is, I'll say, oh, our power just flicked on and off again. I don't know if it did anything. Here's the final point with regards to daily mindset that I think is really useful. And this is one of the biggest things that I think I walked away from my time in the military with, and it has treated me well for the remainder of my time on this planet. And as a parent now, I'm trying to the best of my ability to instill some of these values in my kids and whatnot. So the military is great for some discipline, and my time in the SEAL teams was profoundly impactful and shaped me for the rest of my life. And some of the things that I walked away from that community with was, first of all, do what is necessary. Period, end of story. Do what is necessary every single solitary day. It's amazing how simple that sounds and how many people don't do it. Notice how I didn't say do it I want to do. So do it as necessary. And whether that's computer work, yard work, running the kids around, laundry, whatever it happens to be, do it as necessary. And then if you actually finish every single solitary thing that is necessary, then you can do what you want. But your individual needs are subservient to whatever is necessary. And that simple mind shift right there is an absolute game changer. And that was the great thing about my previous communities. We did what was necessary every single solitary time, and it just became a habit and not even a choice. That's just how you did things. And then here's another great mindset that came from that previous community as well. And I might not articulate this perfectly, but I'll try my very best. You as the individual, in that community anyway, you as the individual are not important. Okay, the team is important, the community is important, the overall objective is important, the mission is important, what you're trying to achieve is important. You as an individual are not important. You are the bottom rung, okay? Now, you could take with that and run it in some direction that you shouldn't run it with, that you don't have value as a human being. I'm not saying any of that stuff. But here's how I would say that is, if we were going to go out and do something, even just a training exercise, okay? And you have your individual gear, for example. You've got your communications gear, your rifle, your clothes, your boots, your whatever it happens to be. And then you have gear that you got. For anyone who's not familiar with the military, I'll use this same tiered sort of approach, just using like the country as in general, because in the military you could have your personal gear, then your platoon gear, then your team gear, then gear from maybe the entire East Coast SEAL teams, and so like different tiers of gear. So let's say you have your stuff from your family, and then you have some gear that you borrowed from your neighbors, and then you have some gear that you used from your town or city. Then you have some gear that you borrowed from your state, and then you have some gear that you used for that training exercise from your country, okay? You get back after 1 hour or 3 weeks, however long the training exercise was. You're cold, tired, miserable. All you want to do is take care of yourself, your personal needs, right? I want to take a warm shower. I want to get a bite to eat. I want to clean the stuff off my face. No, nobody cares about your personal needs. You work in reverse order, and your needs are at the bottom. It doesn't matter how long it takes to get to your needs. You are dead last. Everything else is more important than you. So you take care of that country level gear first, the highest tier. Get it all cleaned up, get it all organized, deliver it back in pristine condition. Then you go to the state level gear. Take as long as that needs. Then you go to the town or city level gear. Take as long as that needs. Then you go to the gear you got from your neighbors. Take as long as that needs. Whatever happens, the gear you got from your family. Take as long as that needs. And then after everything else is done, no matter how long it took, then you take care of yourself. You are dead last on the list. Now you can get warm. Now you can get clean. Now you can get a bite to eat. Well, even before you do that, when you think that you can take care of yourself, just before you start, you yell around to everyone around you to say, hey, does anyone here need any help doing anything at all? And if the answer is yes, well, then you don't take care of yourself. You go help out that other individual. And when you finish helping that individual, you then ask the question one more time. Does anyone here need any help doing anything at all? And if the answer comes back, no, we're all good, then you can take care of yourself. And I think that was such a powerful and important and useful lesson for me to learn that has served me well for years, that my needs are subservient to everyone else's around me. My family's needs are higher on the list as far as I'm concerned than I am. Needs of my friends, needs of my community, the needs of Linchpin, whatever it happens to be, like all of those things get taken care of before I do whatever it is that I potentially want to do. And again, not trying to break up my soapbox, but as I just sit back casually and look at society and the world, it seems that that's a dying set of values. it seems that it's very popular these days for any individual to put themselves totally first, totally number one on the list, as if they're almost some sort of a deity, and their needs reign supreme and everyone else can wait while I take care of me. And I have a really difficult time with that. And I can't tell you which is right and which is wrong. I can just tell you how I was raised and brought up through the various communities and things that I've done, and I can just tell you that in general, what I just try to practice and preach there seems to work relatively well. So that'll be that. Okay, I hope that helps everybody. And it is, of course, Linchpin Test number 3 is the November challenge. Heavy deadlift, wall balls, and some handstand push-ups or some burpees over the bar. There's a prescribed version, a scaled version, a dumbbell version, a wildcard version. And if you want to learn more about that, check our Instagram story. I'll have it there. But then you can also go to the CrossFit Linchpin YouTube channel. Where do I have that? Go to the CrossFit Linchpin YouTube channel. Go to the playlist entitled Workout Videos, and you can see November 2022 Challenge, Linchpin Test 3. And you can find out all kinds of information about how to do it, how to submit a score, how to get some really cool swag like that awesome sweatshirt. But you can also do it totally for free. Keep your Visa card in your wallet. Just do it for free. Sign up, have fun, get your name on the leaderboard, see where you shake out. And we'll do one challenge like this every month. So that's it. Thanks to everybody for being awesome. Hopefully those Q&As were helpful, and we'll talk later.